Hi friends! Today we are diving into the newly released Pat McGrath Labs Celestial Divinity from her Holiday 2021 collection. But first, if it's your first time here, hi! I'm Alicia, thank you so much for clicking on my video. And if you are returning, well, thank you for visiting me again. Kinky Sweat stands for my kinky hair and sweat life. I am a fitness professional who loves things all movement and beauty. If you want to check what I do in between the makeups, you can head over to my Instagram. And if you want to check out the classes that I teach, possibly participate in, please sign up for my newsletter down below. I'm late. I know I'm late. I was away teaching on 2 retreats, and unfortunately, although I tried, I brought all the Pat McGrath makeup with me. I even brought my camera. Okay, fam. My mic, my tripod. And when I arrived and soon learned that the internet, the Wi-Fi that we were grateful to have, at least for checking emails and maybe some light browsing, was way too weak for me to upload a video. And I was just way too busy teaching, being engaged with everyone there to film with my makeup, and the setup that I was in would not have been ideal for me to do so. Therefore, I decided to surrender to those circumstances, enjoy my time in Tennessee, and just start filming when I returned home. And this is where it has brought us today. Pat McGrath Labs was very kind to send me this palette. That is my bias. I was sent PR. I love Pat McGrath. I have bought many a palette from her brand, and you can't see my Divine Rose poster down below, but I do have it there still. So I will go into this first impressions enthusiastically. I had not even swatched the eyeshadow palette yet. I just could only imagine how beautiful it is, and we will dive into some looks as well as some comparisons in terms of what came out last year and the previous years for her holiday collections. I gotta put on my glasses because I'm pretty far from the camera. I'm playing with my setup still, and my zoom button is not working, which means I have to stop the camera in order to zoom in. Not a problem, not a problem. It just puts a little delay in the process. That's just all I'm saying. Now, all the pieces from Pat McGrath's Celestial Odyssey collection are now live. She did a drop-by-drop schedule, meaning she released the 18 pan palette first and then the blush palettes and quads after, alongside the highlighter, which I am still waiting to receive. Pat McGrath Labs was kind enough to send me the eyeshadow palette as well as the 2 blush trios, and I think I just want to dedicate a video to the blushes. I hope you don't mind, just so I can get this up as soon as possible. Here is the packaging for Holiday 2021. Very much like what we saw last year. This is Celestial Divinity. Here we have Celestial Odyssey. If you notice, every time Pat releases a holiday collection, the package is very much conceptualized from the crown jewel theme of things, which was first introduced in Mothership 4 Decadence. This is where we saw the crown jewel on the packaging, and ever since thereafter, she had that theme running through the packaging for her holiday collections. Now, a quick rundown for Pat McGrath. Her first 3 palettes, Subliminal, Sublime, and Subversive, those dropped in September 2017, and Holiday 2018 November, that was the Opulence collection. We have here Metamorphosis 1 out of 3. This was her first holiday drop, and you can see again the crown jewel theme on the box alongside the 2 other boxes that were included in the collection. Holiday 2019, we have Obsessive Opulence, where Pat McGrath Labs introduced her specialized shades, which was never done before until the drop of this collection, where the Astral and Blitz shades were exclusively featured in her 10 pan Mothership palette, but then the brand released those shades in quads instead of the big pans, which I thought was a great move because some people just wanted the Astral specialized shades as a standalone palette that they could probably supplement with their others. And we have Holiday 2020 last year, the Celestial Divinity collection, which kind of caused a stir because this palette, well, 2 things. It was the least expensive packaging, well, in addition to her 6 pan palette that I revisited in my last video. I could post that link down below and up in the card as well. This was all cardboard, and it gave that feeling of I wouldn't say cheapness, but at the same time, I think very accessible to the budget that wanted to dive into Pat McGrath, but not necessarily her mothership palettes, still wanted to try her eyeshadow formula, okay with the fact that this palette didn't include the Astral and Blitz shades. It still featured her beautiful mattes, metallics, and shimmers, as well as the then limited edition Star Wars shades, 12 in total, that were featured in the Star Wars collaboration that came in 2 palettes. People love to complain, that's all I have to say. They were disappointed that they already had these shades if they picked up the Star Wars collection, but that was one of the most stressful drops I can remember from a brand. A lot did not have the opportunity to pick up those palettes. Even though they didn't have the limited edition packaging, they still had the opportunity to pick up the same shades found in those palettes that were now in Celestial Divinity, in addition to 6 new shades. So I thought this was a great deal and a great price point for the consumer who still wants to buy Pat McGrath Labs, doesn't necessarily want the motherships. They don't want to go in that too deep into that commitment spectrum, okay? And then this year we have Celestial Odyssey. Still 18 shadows, but slightly different packaging. So we have here the cardboard outer packaging, but we now have a plastic shadow frame base with the Pat McGrath Labs symbol in the middle. This is a slightly more luxe looking, I think, than Celestial Divinity, and also with the red and gold, for me, just kind of imbues more of a holiday feel in terms of the color palette used for the design. You still have the pink surrounding the hieroglyphic design for the logo, but overall, I think this just screams holiday. It's specifically for me, I just immediately think of the Nutcracker. I don't know why, just the gold, it's so shiny. We have a very large mirror where I can now remove the sticker. We have these ribbons. We'll see how long they stay intact. Unfortunately, the ribbons on my Celestial Divinity palette have ripped. I like how the mirror can stand up on its own. Rather large, so if you want to rely on this palette for travel, if you just want to take it solo, you still have a very large mirror to use. Now, putting these palettes up against each other, I do think that Celestial Odyssey, a little more comprehensive in its color story delivery, only because I feel that Celestial Divinity has a very heavy red plum theme to it, given the gold and olive that are included here, whereas I feel there's a little more scattering of color found in Celestial Odyssey. But you know what, let's go onto the website, let's get some details out the way, then we could get into these swatches, okay? This palette retails for $78, which is still steep, but I think more reasonable than your typical Pat McGrath mothership eyeshadow price tag. We got 5 luxe finishes, structures and highlights, creamy textures, effortless blending, 1-stroke color release, extreme adherence, use wet or dry, and each pan weighs in at 1.1 grams of product. It says here that it is a limited edition 18 shade couture color cachet. We're looking at sateen shimmer, 24K duochrome sparkle, foiled metallic, velvet matte, and iridescent sparkle. All shades are expertly calibrated to wear entrancingly on every skin tone and to conjure iconic looks ranging from earth shine splendor to divine otherworldliness. You can't get enough of these statements from the product description. Well, let's see how these entrancingly opulent shades look in swatches, shall we? Saturn Sunset. That's a pretty, almost like a plummy rose. Rose Venus. Always need the gold. Gold Galaxy. Noir Moon. Oh, that's a one and done shade. It has purple and blue sparkles in there. Look at that, that's pretty. Ooh, I think this might be a duochrome something because the texture looks unlike anything. Well, that's not true. This looks like Lavendering from RoseWood last year. Bronze Nova. Oh my goodness me. I'm gonna have a hard time deciding which color to use. Second matte of the palette, Nocturne. Galactic Glow. Ooh, the champagne of the palette has a little bit of a pink hue to it. Sunrose Amber, Lotus Luxe, Lunar Haze. What a lovely lavender silver shimmer. That's pretty. We have Electric Heavenly Body, Bronze Eclipse. Ooh, this one's full bodied. That is a one and done shade, along with Noir. Let me see here. Yes, Noir Moon. I mean, just all over the lid, you're done. You're done. Solar Flare. This one's probably a sateen, very lightweight, not as shiny as others. I think really pretty, perhaps as a highlight. Nirvana. Oh my goodness me. That's pretty. Smooth. Ooh. You know what? The mashups are coming. That's all I gotta say. Gotta use another arm because I'm running out of space. Corrupt Copper. These are very smooth, and I feel just from the texture, lovely to use and beginner friendly. Palladium. The shine on that is crazy, and it just keeps going and going. Look at that beautiful color. It's like a pewter. I love shades like that. Those metal shades with a little bit of like a neutral cool brown in them. And lastly, the shade that I think was often teased is Citrine Envy. That's gorgeous. Ooh, that's pretty. So here we go. All the shades from Celestial Odyssey. Just from the swatches alone, I'm highly anticipating these looks. I think the textures are very consistent with the formulas found in the smaller Pat McGrath palettes, the holiday Pat McGrath palettes. They don't have the specialized shades, they don't have the actual ones. People were hoping for another quad release, exclusively having the astral and blitz shades. I'm still very happy with the 2019 release. I still dip into those, as you saw in my previous mashups. So, you know, we'll see what this demo brings us. And with that said, why don't you come in a little closer? Ooh, I gotta get another lens that's gonna squeeze me in tighter, but you know what, for now, this is okay. I think I'm gonna go into one of the showstopper shades and quickly show how you can just rely on one shadow for a single look. Let's start super chill with Bronze Eclipse. Taking my Bisotto eyeshadow brush, because although round, it's very fluffy. But let's see how this, oh boy. Well, that packed on some nice color. From the get, being very careful here because although it is a fluffy brush, it's quite large. I don't want the shadow to go out of hand. Oh, well. I guess we're done. Nonsense, nonsense. Let's finish it up. I'm placing the same shade under the lash line here. If you wanted to feather out the edges, you could use the same shade with a fluffier, smaller brush to diffuse the edges. But this is something I admire about Pat's metallic formula, is that it lays down beautiful on the lid. You can recognize that opacity. It doesn't look spotty. It doesn't look faded, even as you blend it. But even the edges fade nicely if you choose to not rely on a matte to blend out the edges. But if you want to, you could go into, I think, Sunrose Amber. I'm lightly going in with my Chikuhodo, I believe this is my Z11 brush. If you wanted to lightly dust that shade along the edges of Bronze Eclipse to give it more of a gradient here, that's totally up to you. I just want to use as many shades as possible, so don't mind me going a little overboard. Now we're Bronze Nova. I think that's going to be our inner corner moment. Ooh, that's pretty. I'm overlapping Bronze Eclipse on the innermost part of the lid, and then I'm taking it right in on the lower lash line, the inner half. Just lightly cleaning up here. If you got overboard, you know, just use your concealer brush as an eraser. We have to do Nirvana. I need to see this in action. I want to see it all over the lid. Taking my La Fuga del Gato brush from Koyuro, I'll first start by placing the color on the lid. Well, that's freaking gorgeous. Really smooth in its application. It doesn't take much to just grab that shine from the product. I mean, immediate coverage. Immediate. I'm just going in to shape the lid and then using the leftover to brush through my crease and again create that nice diffused look to the crease. This brush might be a little too soft for moving around a metallic like this, which means I'm going to grab a Suqqu goat hair brush. This has a little more stiffness than Gray Squirrel and will better allow the pigment to move on the skin, especially if, again, you're just relying on this one shade. If you want to approach this palette with as much simplicity as possible, then I would just go one shade at a time. You got 18 looks. Even with the lighter shades, you could use that on the center of the lid, brow bone, inner corner, and maybe just put on mascara or maybe a liner. Okay, I kind of want to, what do I want to do? Maybe I'll take Noir Moon, this guy here, and just lightly use it as not a liner, but to add a little more intensity to the lash line. I don't know how these shades will overlap. I do see a little something there, so if you want to add a little more intensity to Nirvana, you could just tap that on the outer part of the lid. But to keep this very simple, I'll take the same shade, the first one we applied on the lid, and now just pull that through the lower lash line. Here we go. And now with Citrine Envy, definitely the star of the show for a lot of Pat sneak peeks. I'm placing that on the inner corner, as I think that will just pair beautifully with Nirvana. You have like this peacock theme going on. I want to introduce another shade to this look for sure. I think we could go gold. We got Gold Galaxy. We can maybe go more pink. You know what I mean? Corrupt Copper, I think. You know what? I think I want to do Corrupt Copper. Gold goes with anything, and many of you have expressed your I'm over itness with Pat including gold in any and all her palettes with, no, she included the gold in that one too. It's one of those things, you just can't let some things go. And when it comes to gold, Pat needs it in everything. Corrupt Copper on the inner part. Oh, I like that. This is so tropical given the fact that it's a holiday palette. Totally fine. There's some tropical weather going on during Christmas in some regions. I have the light on just so you could get the shine from the colors. I'm still in front of natural light, so I just want to let you all know, you know, I don't want to, what's it called? Catfish you? Is that the term appropriate for this sentiment? Still want to use Bronze Nova. Do I? You know what? No. Gold Galaxy, but just on the edge of Citrine Envy, because I want like a through line shade that connects both Citrine Envy and Corrupt Copper. I think that's so pretty. Now you know what we can do. Now for kicks, you could go into Nocturnal Nirvana, tap on the green duochrome on top of this, or even the lighter turquoise shade on the center of the lid to create a little bit of brightness and sparkle. Just saying. I can't see. How does this look? Does this look okay? I'm gonna have to start wearing my contacts now to film because you're far, fam. Lashes are on and also some lipstick. Got Wayne Goss Nude lipstick in Nutmeg and chandelier lashes in the style Ariel. Wide shot of both looks. I'm glad we went a little simple for the first demo just to showcase how easy it is to use this palette if you're comfortable using eyeshadows. And if you're going into buying this palette not, I think you're going to have a fairly easy time using it simply because of how it's laid out. You have these standout shades that can be used solo. You don't have to build them up. You don't have to use 10 shadows at once. Although those looks are beautiful and there are a lot of artists out there that rely on several colors to create multi-dimensional eye looks, I think if you feel more comfortable just using one shadow, this is what this palette is about. And the fact that we have a more subdued smoky eye just using the bronze shade and something more impactful and colorful using the turquoise, layering them as you like. I'm already having a blast and I just finished the first round. With that said, let's take this off, dive into some of the mattes, and I'll see you back here in a minute. I didn't successfully wipe off Nirvana off my lower lash line, so it's just gonna stay there. What are you gonna do? Being in the mattes for this round, let's see, Saturn Sunset, which looks to be like a plummy type rose. Just making sure this primer is dried down properly. Whipping that in the crease. Ooh, I only tried one matte thus far, and I tried a half a matte on the first demo when I used that shade to buff the edges of Bronze Eclipse, but they are very smooth. Consistency, even blend throughout the crease. This shade's pretty. Electric, which is this more coral shade, kind of reminds me of what exists in Utopian Dream, but not as corally. Think a little more pink leaning. Nice shade to pair with Saturn Sunset. Oh, I like that shade a lot. It's not super red, but not super... It's like plummy and rosy at the same time. It's very hard to pin down the hue, but I love it. All right, let's see. What is this one called? Sunrose Amber, the more neutral moments in the palette. If you don't feel like going this route, you can rely on this shade, which is warm, but not like orangey warm. It's more of like terracotta brown. And again, very smooth on the blend. If you want to see something layered on top, we can now discover how deep Nocturne goes when layered on this shade. Okay, not too bad. I'm going to tap it on so we can maximize intensity here. You got some kickback in the pan, and I also forgot to mention, if you choose to blend out the metallics, you do run the risk of having fallout, simply because the pigments, I feel, are more, they flow more than mattes perhaps. Therefore, when blending out a metallic texture on the lid, you could have fallout, and I did with Nirvana. This has really nice color to it, and I love the fact that I can still identify that bark brown on the lid. It doesn't look so dark that it just looks cool, or that it doesn't latch onto the skin and turn really super dark, maybe like how some neutral browns turn into when applied on the lid. But that's really nice. Taking more of Sunrose Amber with a fluffier brush just now along the edges here of Nocturne. These mattes are great. Wow. I think if you're a beginner, you're not going to have any trouble at all. Just use a fluffy crease brush, synthetic or natural, whatever you got. Then you'll have a very easy time blending out these shades. And they maintain their color beautifully when applied on the lid. I want to commit to Saturn Sunrise, so I'm applying more on the lid here just to see where that would lead to. Ooh, so many choices. Where do we want to go? Well, I know for sure. Do we want to use Heavenly Body? Huh. Oh, that's pretty. Heavenly Body has that pink to it. We've seen it before from Pat. I want to use Rose Venus. We got to go in with Rose Venus. That one is calling my name. Alicia. Of course, placing that on this eye. Ooh. I'm taking my finger. There we go. I would suggest a finger or maybe a smaller packer brush. This is more fluffy, so I think great if you wanted to blend the edges of the shade. Oh, yes. And now with Lotus Luxe, I think I want to hit the inner corner with that. Is this a good choice? Oh, I picked up way too much. Well, you know what? I could have done the reverse. Lotus Luxe on the lid and Rose Venus on the inner corner, because Rose Luxe has a little more color to it, but I kind of like what it's doing. I definitely overloaded the brush, that's okay. But on the lower lash line, I want to do Lotus Luxe on the lower lash line. We're just going to bring it all around because I think that shade quite pretty and really nice here to bring in a little bit of that pink smoke. And perhaps I'll use a lighter shade. Let me see here. I was going to go in with Heavenly Body. Is that Heavenly Body? Yes. Galactic Glow. Let me do Galactic Glow on top of Lotus Luxe to give it a little more lightness. There we go. Just so it could appear more as a highlight. But I love that pink undertone. I'm taking Saturn Sunset now on the outer part of the lower lash line, just connecting with what's happening up top. Following with Electrique a little bit with my Chikuhodo brush. I want to wing this out just so that I could extend the shape a little more, but without having to use Saturn Sunset. You know what we could do? I think I want to use Electrique as a blush just to kind of bracket what's going on this side. And Lotus Cheek, I think perfect now. Oh, I should have known. That would pack a punch. So I'm placing Electrique high on the cheekbones. And I'm pulling it around the brow. So it looks like it's traveling onto my cheekbones. Like the color is extending and continuing. A little bit of Saturn Sunset. Just a little bit. I don't want to overload the cheeks here, but this is why we're here. Galactic Glow, the inner corner shade I applied here, I now want to use as a highlight. Let's see here. This is a little thick, so I'm being very careful. It's not my ideal texture to apply as a highlighter. I would probably just, well, I don't have it yet, but I will probably just use, you know what, hold on, hang tight. This is Venus Nectar from, I believe it's called the Amber Allure Trio. This shade is new. Golden Nectar is not, which is included in the other trio. This consistency, I think, far more appropriate to use as a highlight, and it is incredibly smooth and shiny, so perhaps should have went in with that first, but you know how I love to experiment. This has more of a pinky tone to it, which I think very lovely to pair with the shadow combination we have going on the cheeks right now. And I'm simply just toggling between both brushes to just smooth out that first application so it doesn't look as textured. But Venus Nectar, oh my goodness, the shine on that is crazy. We gotta finish this eye. I have not decided what I want to put on. No, actually I did. I definitely want to do Palladium, this taupe metal shade. Ooh, paired with Nocturne, I think we're gonna, yeah man. We got two totally different eye moments going on. I don't know if you could recognize that. I love the fact that this palette is just so comprehensive in terms of its color choice. If you wanted to go subdued, you can. If you wanted to go color rich, you can. A combination of several textures. If you wanted to go all matte, all sateen, shimmer, metallic, you have that choice. And I think the selection is wonderful. Whereas Celestial Divinity, which I actually brought with me to Power Monkey Camp, I found that because of the two mattes, they're very plummy in undertone, which for me influences all the other shades. And the look I did was very much magenta plum. And I know there are other duochrome green-like shades in there, but I think this just has a little more to offer in terms of the color choice. I want to get into, let's see here, Lunar Haze. This one here, this silver lavender. I'm going to hit that on the inner corner because I think that would just look so lovely. Paired with Palladium, because they're both cool tone. I'm trying to look for my Kolinsky brush, I'm sorry. I'm going to hit that on the inner corner. Oh, that's pretty. That's a nice addition because it's like neutral here. You got a little taupe metally on the lid, and now we introduce like this lavender wet. What a great combination. I like that a lot. Just bringing it up here in towards Palladium so they could swim together. Now for the inner corner. Woo, what should we do? I don't know, man. Did we use all the shades? No, we did not. I think I want to go in with Solar Flare. This was the weaker shade, although I would still consider it more sateen, which is a finish Pat did say was included in the palette, so it's not like, you know, this was supposed to be a metallic and it's not as shiny as the others. Sateen traditionally is not as shiny as a metallic. I think that's really nice. It's very lightweight. It has a peachy tone to it, which I love because you have this pastel moment going on in the inner corner. You got the lavender on top. Then we introduce Solar Haze. Is that what it's called? Solar Flare, excuse me. The peachiness from Solar Flare comes in from the lavender, but then you still have like this neutral moment going on the lid with Nocturne and Palladium. Oh, that's pretty. I got a little out of hand with the Lunar Haze. Just brushing that away. Don't mind me. Fortunately, we still got a little blue residue from Nirvana on the lash line, but that's okay. That is the first impressions of Celestial Odyssey. I know we only did 4 looks, but I want to edit this as quickly as possible to get it up there. I'm very happy with the palette. I suspected that I would when I saw the shades on the release on Pat's Instagram. The fact that it's comprehensive, you have the cools, you have the warms, you have the coppers, the greens. It's a hodgepodge, but it's not overwhelming at the same time. Because I've seen some palettes with all the shades and it's like, how in the world, I mean, how can I put these together? I find these are well thought out, that you can mix the warm and the cool in ways that will not look super crazy on the lids. And even if you did, I think no matter how you combine them, you'll have beautiful eye looks. And again, you have a wide range of shades that you can use solo, that you can combine. So all in all, I think I do enjoy this year's palette better than last. Again, because when I used Celestial Divinity, I found because of these 2 shades here, and definitely there's like a magenta plum theme in this palette, even with the golds and coppers here, that overall still lean like that royal purple type of a gig. Whereas Celestial Odyssey, you got a little more going on here in terms of the color selection, more blues and greens rather than the magenta and the plum and the gold. And as I'm looking in this palette, I have so many other combinations that I want to try, so stay tuned. We'll definitely do more looks because I want to apply Noir Moon all over the lid, Corrupt Copper, and all the other combinations that are now swirling and twirling in my head, so stay tuned for those. Let me know if you're picking up Celestial Odyssey, if you have already, if you're still waiting. Thank you again for your patience, fam. I always love to put up Pat Mcgrath as soon as possible when I receive it, whether I buy it or receive it from PR. But this time, you know, I just did it when I could, and I'm happy to still have the opportunity to do so, even with my broken zoom in button is fine. I'll see you down in the comments, and until then, that is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I will see you on here again with another review tutorial, Pat Mcgrath Labs Extravaganza, monthly favorites, or mashup. Take care, and I will see you again soon.